Welcome. I am Spring, the fiber enthusiast. Today we are going to make this Christmas earring. It is a lot more red than what it appears on the screen, and I will insert a picture here. So for today's tutorial, we are going to need Aunt Lydia's red Classic 10 crochet thread, or color of your choice if you don't like red. Just a number 10 crochet thread. You will also need 5 beads for each earring. Now the beads should be sized to slide over your crochet thread. Not too big, not too small, just right. Some use seed beads. I think these are a 6.0, and I could be wrong. I do not remember. I do not have the case for my beads, and I am terribly sorry. But when choosing the beads, you want to make sure that it will slide over the top of your Classic 10, number 10 crochet thread. And that is 10 total beads, 5 for each earring. You will also need an earring top of your choice, whether it be fish hooks, lever backs, post, whichever you choose. Okay, you will need a tatting needle because today's tutorial is tatting. I choose to use Handy Hands tatting needles. And for today's thread, I will be using the number 5. And one last thing you will need is a pair of jewelry pliers. Okay. So I already have my thread on my needle and beads on my thread. So I'm going to get some thread and we will start. Okay, we are going to start with one of the center rings. I'm going to start with one that has no beads on it first. So you want about 18 to 20 inches of tail. That's between where you start your work and the tip that is through your needle. Okay, so I'm going to place my thread onto my finger, my needle over my thread to hold it in place, just like that. And I'm going to start with 4 double stitches. That's 3 and 4. And if at any point you would like to learn how to make those double stitches, you can go back into my tatting videos and find the basic stitches or tatting 101 videos and give them a watch, and then come back and make this earring with us. So there is 4 double stitches, and now I'm going to make a picot. So I'm going to slide my work down just a hair, place my finger on the needle to give myself a space, which creates the picot. And I'm going to do a double stitch, just like that. And that creates our picot, which is the little loop. I need 3 more double stitches to complete that part. Okay. Now we need another picot. And 4 more double stitches. Another picot and 4 more double stitches. Just like that. I'll bring it up so you can get a better look, if I can get it in camera here. So we start with 4 double stitches, a picot, 4 double stitches, a picot, 4 double stitches, a picot, and 4 double stitches. So now you're going to hold your work between your thumb and your index finger, take your pinky and grab a hold of the thread so it doesn't go into your work. Slide your needle through your work, pulling your tail gently until the loop tightens down on your pinky, like that. Insert your needle into the loop and pull your tail through. Remove your pinky and cinch down that loop by pulling on your tail. Now, close to form a ring. Turn your work over and place a knot. Okay, so we have completed our first ring right here at the top. Now we're going to do this arch. The arch consisted of double stitches and picots. Place your needle on top of the knot you just made, on top of your index finger to hold it in place. 2 double stitches, there's 1 and 2, create a space for the picot, double stitch, 1 more double stitch, slide it down, create a space for a picot, double stitch, double stitch. So what it is 2 double stitches, create your space, 2 double stitches. Create your space for your picot and 2 double stitches. And we are going to repeat this until we have a total of 8 picots with 2 double stitches in between. Each one. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to slide my work down just a little bit more to give myself more room. And we need 3 more picots. So there's 1 with 2 double stitches after it. Here's 2 with 2 double stitches after it. And the last one with 2 double stitches after it. Just like that. Slide your work down. Hold your work between your thumb and your index finger and slide your needle and tail through your work. Go slow and carefully, not to knot. And because this is an arch, we do not need to place our pinky to hold a ring. Let you see where we're at. So this is where we're at, and this is what it should look like. You have your ring and your arch. Your ring will have 3 picots, and your arch will have 8. Okay, so we're gonna turn our work over and place another knot. These knots are completely optional, except for when you end your work. I choose to knot the work at the end of each section because I want it to stay secure and in the shape that it's in before I start the next section. If you feel confident that it is not going to shift, you do not have to place a knot at the end of each section. It is personal preference. So now we need to create another ring and attach it to the very top picot of our previous ring. So your arch should be facing your right hand and your ring should be facing your left hand. I'm going to zoom out so we can get started. Place your needle on top of the knot, on top of your index finger. Okay. Place your needle on top of the last knot you made, or if you do not place a knot, at the end of the last double stitch you made. Place those on top of your index finger and hold them securely. We will start our ring exactly the same as the ring we just did. 4 double stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. On this ring, we will be adding our beads, 1 on each side. So slide down a bead all the way to your needle. And this is going to take the place of your first picot. So after you slide down your bead to the needle, 4 more double stitches. Make sure your first double stitch after the bead is good and tight so your bead is secure and doesn't do a bunch of flopping around. So there's 1 and 2, 3, and 4. Now we need to join to the top of our previous ring. And you can do this with a crochet hook, and you can do this with the tip of your needle. I will be demonstrating how to use the tip of the needle. So I take and hold the ring in my fingers, between my thumb and my middle finger, and I come through the top of the picot with my needle, just the tip of my needle. Insert into the top of that picot. I take my thread and wrap it over the top of the tip of my needle. Then I turn my needle towards my ring and pull that thread through the picot. Okay, slide my work down and let's finish the ring. We now need 4 double stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We need one more bead for the other side of our ring. So slide another bead down your work. And 4 more double stitches. Make sure that first double stitch after your bead is good and secure and tight, so that way the bead stays put. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that's what it should look like. Okay. Holding the end of my work where I left off between my thumb and my index finger, taking my pinky and grabbing hold of the thread at the other end, I slide my needle and my work up through my needle and my tail, through my work, until I have a small ring around my pinky. I insert my needle into that ring, pull my tail through, remove my pinky, and cinch down the ring. Now with all these picots, you got to be careful and go slow and make sure you pull that loop off of all your picots and you don't get a hold of them and they get caught in that ring. So cinch it down just like that, and then close to form a ring. Now you want to make sure that all of your rings are of equal size, and how you do that is by drawing your tail just a little at a time and snug all these stitches together until both are the same size. Okay? If you have it too tight, you just pull a little bit and scoot the stitches away from each other, just like that. Okay? Turn your work over, and we are going to create our next arch. If you are placing a knot, now is when you place your knot. And the arches are exactly the same all the way around. They are 8 picots with 2 double stitches in between. So we will start with 2 double stitches. Two. And a picot. 2 double stitches, picot, 2 double stitches, picot, 2 double stitches, slide my work down so I have more room, picot, 2 double stitches, picot, 2 double stitches. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need 3 more. So picot, this is the second picot and the third, with 2 double stitches at the end. Just like that. So again, because this is an arch, we are just going to slide right through with our work. Just like that. Turn our work over. If you're placing a knot, here is where you would place a knot. Okay, this next ring does not have beads. So we start with 4 double stitches. Gonna place our knot on top of our index finger, our needle on top of the knot to hold it in place. Sometimes it can be a little tricky. Gotcha. All right, we're gonna start with 4 double stitches. Make sure your first double stitch is good and close to the work that you just completed. 2, 3, 4. Because if you don't, you see how loose that is right there? That will make a difference in the end result. So I'm going to pull my needle out of them double stitches and get closer to my knot. I'm gonna readjust my knot and I'll be right back. Okay, let's do that again. Had a feeling I was gonna have a problem with it. Okay, that's better. Not nearly as loose. Okay. So our first ring, let me set it down and zoom in so that way you can see. Our first ring had no beads. Then we had an arch. Our second ring had beads. Then we have an arch. So this ring is no beads, because we are doing every other ring with beads. Okay. So now we need a picot and 4 more double stitches. And 4. Now we're going to connect in the same place we connected our last ring, at the top of these picots. So where they're connected, that's where you connect this one. Slide your work down on your needle. Insert the tip of your needle into that picot, that top picot. Right there. Wrap your thread around your needle. Turn your needle towards the picots, towards the rings, and pull up that thread through the picot, and you are now connected. Slide your work back down your needle. Place 4 more double stitches. Okay, and we need 1 more picot and 4 more double stitches. Just like that. Okay, this is a ring, so we are going to need to reserve a loop at the end from our tail thread. Slide your work and your tail through. Insert your needle into that ring you reserved. Pull it through. Cinch down and close to form a ring. Once again, you want to make sure that your rings are uniform and right about the same size. Turn your work over, place a knot, okay, instead of the arch, we're going to do, turn this over so you can see where we're at. So we started with our first ring here. We did an arch, our second ring, our second ring, right here, an arch, our third ring. Now we want to come up and do this ring with the bead. Then we'll move on to finish the other half. So after you've turned your work and place a knot, if that's how you choose, place your work on your finger, hold the needle over your knot, good and firm, and we're going to do 5 double stitches this time. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Get a bead. And place a double stitch afterwards to hold that bead good and secure. And now you'll need 4 more double stitches to complete the 5 on each side. There's 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, because this is another ring, we need to make sure and hang on to the thread going to our needle. Slide your needle and tail through, creating a loop around your pinky from where you reserve the thread. Insert your needle into that ring and pull it through. Cinch it down. And now close to form a ring. Now we are not going to turn our work this time because we want our arch to go from left to right, so we need our double stitches, the top of them, to go on the left side of our needle. So we do not turn our work. We can place a knot here. Okay. Now, let's start our next arch. It is exactly the same as our previous arches. We will have 8 picots separated by 2 double stitches. So we'll do the first one with 2 double stitches, picot, 2 double stitches. And if you're using your finger to create your double stitches like I do, because there is a little card that you can use that has little steps for sizing out your picots for them to be the exact same size. I just have always used my finger. Okay, let's carry on. That was 1 picot. That's 2 with 2 double stitches, 3 with 2 double stitches, 4 with 2 double stitches. 5 and 2 double stitches. 6, 2 double stitches. Slide my work down a little bit. 7 and 2 double stitches. And 8 with the last 2 double stitches. Because it's an arch, just slide your needle and tail through. Careful you don't get hung up on any of the beads or picots or rings. There we go. You want to make sure your arches are roughly about the same shape, size, before you start the next section. Once it is, turn your work over and place a knot if you so choose. Okay. Now we are going to create our last ring. Our last ring will have 2 beads and connect in the center. So here we go, 4 double stitches. Make sure that first double stitch is good and close to your knot. It's 3 and 4. Pull up a bead. Four double stitches. Make sure your first double stitch is good and snug to your bead. Now we're going to join to our work. Make sure your work is all lined up and everything is not all twisted before you attach. Slide your work down towards the tip of your needle. Hang on to it so it doesn't jump off. Again, we are going to go into the same picot in the center here where we have connected the last 2 rings. So find that picot area and we are going to insert the tip of our needle into the top, from the top to the bottom. Wrap the thread around your needle, turn your needle towards the center, and pull that thread back up through. And you can, like I said, use a crochet hook and pull that thread up through and then place the loop onto your needle. All right, so we need 4 more double stitches and a bead. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1 more bead. And 4 more double stitches. Nice and snug against that bead with your first double stitch. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, grab hold of the end of your work. Place your pinky around the thread coming from the end of your needle, your tail thread. Slide your needle and tail thread through. Place your needle through the loop around your pinky, pulling that tail through. Cinch down the ring, and then close to form a ring. Again, you want to make sure that your ring is consistent in size with the other 3 rings that you made in the center. And then turn your work over. And place a knot if you so desire. Okay, we are going to complete our last arch, which is the same as our previous arches, 2 double stitches with 8 picots and 2 double stitches in between each of the picots. So 1 and 2, and now we are going to place our first picot. And I hold my work on some of my work so it's not just dangling from my needle and getting in the way. I hold it in my hand with the needle. Okay, so we need a picot, 2 double stitches, picot, 2 double stitches, that's 2, 3rd picot, 2 double stitches, 4th picot, 2 double stitches, 5th picot, 2 double stitches, 6th picot, 2 double stitches, 7th picot, 2 double stitches, 8th, and the last 2 double stitches. Slide your work through to create that arch. Just like that. Okay, now we're going to connect this arch to the beginning of our work between the ring and the first arch we made. So we're going to turn our work over, and you're going to find between that first ring you created and the first arch you created, you're going to find the space in between and insert from the back side of your work your needle through that space and pull your tail through. Just like that. And when you do that, you're going to want to readjust your arch to make sure that it replicates the rest of your arches. So you're going to have to cinch it down just a little bit or loosen it up just a little bit, so that way it looks like the rest of the arches. Okay? So from here, we are going to do our final ring with 1 picot, and that's so that way we can place our earring holder on it. Okay, so it will be the same as this one at the bottom. The only difference is instead of a bead, we will have a picot there. You ready? Now for this, I will not be placing a knot before I start because I want to get as close down here as absolutely possible. So place your needle on top of your work and hold it firmly against your index finger, and 5 double stitches. That very first one needs to be good and snug against your work that you just completed. So that was 1. That's 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we will do a picot and 5 more double stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now this is a ring, so we want to hang on to our tail thread with our pinky. Slide your needle up through your work until you have a ring around your pinky. Insert your needle through the ring. Cinch it down and then close to form a ring. Now again, I will be inserting my needle from the side I'm working on through that same area that we just connected our last arch. I'm going to insert my needle through there from this side that we are looking at to the back and pull my thread through that tail on the other side. And now I will turn my work over. I'm going to place a knot good and secure. Because this is our final knot, I want to make sure it's an actual full knot. That way it doesn't come loose, and then sew in our tails into our work. It's good and tight. And any misshapen look as it is right now will be fixed when you block it. And I also show how to block your tatted work in a video in my tatting tutorials. So once you have completed your work, you have your last knot in, you can cut away from the ball of thread you're working on, leaving a long enough tail to sew in. And the direction I sew my tails in depends on the direction of the thread. When I lay the work down, whichever way the thread naturally lays after my knot is the way that I will sew it in. And to sew in the end, all you do is find your double stitches and insert your needle into them double stitches and pull your tail through. Okay, so I have my needle inserted into my double stitches. You can see that it is not sticking out on either side. I am going to now go through gently and carefully without poking myself. I'm going to start taking my needle out of the stitches and pull my tail through those stitches. And it can be a little bit tough to get all that through. Okay. Now what you do is you give it a little snug and squish those double stitches you just came through up, so that way when you cut it, careful not to cut any picots or anything else. When you cut your tail, see how it's sticking out there? Now we're going to shift those double stitches around back into place, and our tail is now gone. It's into those double stitches, just like that. Okay, so you can complete the other side on your own, and I will return. Okay, I have my tail sewn in. The last step of this part before blocking is to add our desired earring hook or material of choice. You could even add a clip-on earring top. That is completely and entirely up to you what type and style you want to use. For mine, I use fish hooks. Sometimes I use a post, depending on what style of earring I've made. But with a fish hook, you can slide, there's a little spring and ball there. You can slide them down. And then you can see in this area right here where the metal goes around and touches. That's why the ball is there, because it covers that up. So what I do is I take my needle nose or jewelry pliers, whichever you use, and just slightly open that up. There we go. Just barely open. And it's just open enough for me to put my thread on there. And we place it on by that very last picot that we made right here. Okay? So we add our jewelry, and I always flip it over my hand. Get it to where you can see. Flip it over my hand like this. That way I can close this ring back. Let's see if I can do this with you being able to see. That way I can close this ring back up. Just nice and slow and easy, just so that way it closes right back up to where it was previously. Just like that. And then when you turn your earring hook back over, your bead drops back down over the top of it, and so does that little spring. And now you can put it on your blocking board. Spray it with your starch. Let it dry. Make sure and shape it with your needles and block it all out. And then you will have a pair of Christmas earrings if you've made them with red. Okay, I am going to block this one, and when it is dry, I will add a picture here. I want to thank you for watching this tutorial. If you found it helpful and enjoyed it, please let me know in the comment section below. Also, give me a thumbs up and let me know that way that you liked it. For any future tutorials you can find on tatting, crocheting, knitting, all here on my channel. You can also find in the description box other places to find me, like my Facebook group. Please come over, and if you have made these or anything else, come over to my Facebook page and share it. I would absolutely love to see your work. You can also find me on Instagram. If you've made anything that I have done in a tutorial, or anything else that you have made and want to show me, please come over to Instagram and tag me in it so I see it. I would love to see your work. Again, I thank you for watching. Be blessed and be a blessing. Bye, guys.